There's an election coming up.
And lucky for you, we're about to meet the big players, Liberal and Labor.
Oh, as well as the Greens and the Nationals.
But while everyone's busy interviewing the leaders, we wanted to meet some of the young people on the ground.
The everyday Australians who just so happen to be politically inclined as well.
We're going to find out what makes them tick.
What their parties stand for.
And hopefully some other things too that we come up with on the spot.
You will come up with on this.
Yeah.
Let's hit the road. Buckle up. Let's go! Oh.
Sorry, did you mean to do that?
No.
What's happened?
I think you just stalled.
Stall? Oh.
That's not all we're doing. We'll find out what it's like voting for the first time.
We'll get some musical help to break down a few important political terms. And we'll tell you how you can become Australia's next Prime Minister in 5 easy steps.
Really?
Well, not really, no.
We're in the election car. We're in the election car. We're in the election car. Let's hope we get quite far. Hey!
Where are we off to, Nat?
All right, first up we're meeting Kai. He's a young Liberal who, fun fact, once caught a fish almost as big as himself. Look how big it is. That's enormous.
I'm terrified of fish like that.
G'day, how you doing?
Nat, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, I'm Kai.
I'm Joe.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks, E.
Thank you.
Kai, well, tell us a little bit about yourself. How long have you been a young Liberal for?
Yeah, so I joined on my 16th birthday, which is as young as you can do it. So I've certainly had an interest there, and I reviewed all political parties and thought about what I wanted in a government, and ended up with the Young Liberals. It's certainly a broad church and full of diverse people.
What do you mean by that? Like, what types of people are in the Liberals?
Well, if you're going to break it down into factions, you've got moderates, right-wing, conservatives. I sit in the moderates. We're economically conservative but socially progressive. It really means social policies such as same-sex marriage and the environment as well is top concerns, but still having a conservative look about the budget and not overspending in its respective right.
What are some common misconceptions about the Liberal Party that you'd like to clear up?
I think some people think we're just driven by coal and money, but it's not the case. Pretty much everyone in the Young Liberals is concerned about the environment, and it is a very hot topic. Reducing emissions and getting rid of single-use plastics, and also finding innovative ways to reduce emissions from agriculture, industry, transport, aviation, etc. is certainly a high topic, so the environment would probably be one of the biggest misconceptions.
So, like, what policies have you put forward?
Well, I haven't put forward any yet.
It's just joint, Joe.
Hey, look, I mean, you got to make moves quickly, am I right? Huh?
At our last meeting, we passed a motion calling for the state government to plant 100 million trees by 2030.
Wow, a bit like Mr. Beast, that. Yeah. Have you heard of Mr. Beast, the YouTuber? He planted like 20 million trees.
Is that where the inspiration came from?
Who knows, possibly.
Kai, it's been really good to meet you, and thanks for talking to us.
Been a pleasure.
You up to much for the rest of the day?
Might go fishing and then got a policy meeting after this.
Whoa, big business. Big business.
Yep.
Well, guess what? We've got some fishing rods too.
How convenient.
Probably cold. I reckon just launch.
How you going, caught anything?
Nothing yet. Bit of seaweed. Hey, what time do you need to be at that meeting?
Pretty soon, actually.
Do you need a lift?
That'd be good, thanks.
Hang on.
Settle down. It's fine. Thank you, Carl. Thank you. See, that's where we are.
Oh, here we are.
Lovely. Nice to meet you. Take it easy.
Pleasure.
I'm losing my mind.
Hundreds of thousands of Aussies are voting for the very first time this election, and Amal is one of them. So she went to find out exactly what her and other first-time voters need to know.
Yep, it'll be my first time voting and I need some help. So I've come to the professionals in the whole voting thing, the Australian Electoral Commission. Except they're on level 9, so let's head up. Elevator C, let's go. See you later. Sorry, that was a bad pun. Bye-bye. the Australian Electoral Commission, or AEC, is the independent body in charge of organising federal elections, by-elections and referendums. So that's everything from managing electoral rolls, running polling booths and doing the big count.
My name is Cameron Stokes. I'm the State Manager and Australian Electoral Officer for South Australia here for the Australian Electoral Commission.
So this is my first time voting. What should I know as a first time voter?
So the first thing you need to do is make sure that you're on the roll for the address that you're living at so that you're eligible to vote. So that's a really easy process. You can jump on our website, it only takes a few minutes.
Come election day, what can I expect?
There will be around 8,000 polling places all the way around Australia this election day, so you'll have lots of choices about where you'd like to go. Once you go inside, you'll go up to the front desk and they'll ask you a few questions to identify you and mark you off the roll, and then they'll give you 2 ballot papers, one for the House of Representatives and one for the Senate. And then you'll be able to take those over to a voting screen, mark them and fold them up and pop them in the ballot box, and you're all done.
So I'm now at a counting centre in Adelaide where the ballots come and the election magic happens. Got my green vest on? Let's go. Okay, so here you have a really massive paper that apparently I'm going to get on election night. What am I meant to do with it?
So this is the ballot paper for the Senate. So you have 2 options when you complete this ballot paper. You can go above the line where we've got all the parties, or you can vote below the line where we've got the candidates.
All right, so that is a lot of different candidates. Do I need to number all of them?
You can, but you don't have to. So if you vote above the line, you have to number at least 1 to 6 in the order of your choice, or below the line at least 1 to 12. But if you want to number them all, you absolutely can. Smaller green ballot paper is for the House of Representatives, so that's for your local division. This one's much simpler. It's just a number 1 against your first choice, but making sure you number every box in the order of your preference.
Amazing, that seems pretty simple and a lot quicker than the other one, so that's a relief. So that's how to fill it out. But what actually happens with all the ballots? Well, I had a chat with Darren, who runs this counting centre.
Yeah, election night, we're really quiet to start with, and then the booths shut at 6 o'clock. They count the ballots in the booths, and then they pack up, bring everything back here. So then there's a hive of activity all through the night.
And you've been saying you've done this since you were like 16 years old, was it?
Yeah, it is. I've always worked in a polling booth on election day. The exciting part for me is at 6 o'clock when we crack open these massive ballot boxes full of 18,000 votes that we get to count and sort, and it's just absolute excitement. It's fantastic. I'm ready to go. Excellent. Yeah.
All right, Nat, we are now off to see Ali. Now, Ali is part of Young Labour, and fun fact about him, he can speak 3 languages, which is 3 more than me. Hang on. Hold up.
Hey, Ali. I'm Joe. Nice to meet you.
Nat.
Nice to meet you.
So, Ali, tell us, why did you decide to join Young Labour?
Well, I came to Australia as a refugee in 2003 and definitely couldn't have done it without the support I got from state, but also my community. And people have always provided me a hand when I needed it, and I sort of wanted to pass that on, and the way I think I could have done that is through the Labor Party.
So have you met any of the leaders, the big wigs of the Labor Party? Have you met like Anthony Albanese?
I've met Albo a few times.
What's he like just as a person?
He's relatable and human.
Sounds like something a human would say.
But he's a nice bloke, and he always has time to speak to you.
What are some misconceptions or stereotypes about the Labor Party that you've come across, and do you agree with them or disagree with them?
I've met people that essentially think that people in politics are reptilian shapeshifters.
Sounds like something a reptilian shapeshifter would say.
I was going to say, I can confirm that's not true. There's obviously a lot of messaging from different parties out there that say this, that the Labor Party is going to tax you more, or the Labor Party is controlled by the union movement, and whatever it may be. Where the party does push for, more revenue through taxation, it's to support the great things that Australians and young people do enjoy, whether it be, schools, and I get some people don't enjoy that, but very important. Yeah. Our health system, parks, sporting events, that's what this ultimately funds. And on the other big one that comes up on the union movement, what does the union movement stand for? They stand for representing all working Australians and their families. And I think that's a noble goal, and it's something we're very proud of and certainly don't hide away from.
So what are you up to for the rest of the day?
I'm actually going for a run, hence in the running gear. I promise it's not how I normally dress.
Well, we could do with a run ourselves, I reckon.
I think so. Stretch the legs. Now, because it's election time, you're a lot more likely to hear words.
Joe, it's green.
Like...
It's green. Come on, go. Go. It's all right, we'll finish that off later. How about we just pull over and we'll finish it off?
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. If you've been hearing a lot of phrases recently like canvassing or pork barrelling, and you're feeling a little confused by it all, then I've got just the thing for you.
It's a song.
Yes. Music.
This song's about political jargon. It's called Political Jargon. Political jargon, political jargon, political jargon, political jargon. This song was much harder to write than I thought it would be, as I'm sure you'll figure out by its low quality. Pub test is not a test at the pub.
Oh, I didn't think it was an actual test at a pub.
Pub test is like, what would people at the pub say? It's used to describe the general opinion of everyday Australians about current events, politicians and policies. Political jargon, political jargon, political jargon, political jargon. I struggled to find words to rhyme with political jargon, so here's a few going at a half price bargain. Dog whistling might sound innocent, but it's a message in a message only some will understand. Donkey voters put no intelligent thought to how they number their votes when pencil's in hand. And pork barrelling involves giving out funding to make voters your fan. Now, canvassing is not linked to painting. It's all about in-person campaigning, like going door to door and trying to build good rapport. A blue ribbon seat is somewhere you will find where voters are voted the same over a long period of time. It's like a super safe seat where it's really hard to compete. Still, some might try winning by using mudslinging. It's all about causing your opponents pain by saying negative things about them during a political campaign. All right, now one last time. Political jargon, political jargon, political jargon, political jargon. All this political jargon that's getting thrown around. I hope this little song helped break some down. Political jargon, political jargon, political jargon, political jargon, political jargon. La 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 la.
All right, Joe, do you know who we're meeting next?
No idea. Who are we meeting?
We're meeting Jonathan. He is a young national, and fun fact, he's a cattle farmer.
Move! Move! Hey, how you going?
Nice to meet you. Nat.
Nice to meet you, Nat. Joe.
Nice to meet you, Joe. Jonathan.
Take a seat. Jonathan, first of all, are you a young national?
Yeah, despite what I might look like, I am a young national. I'm 33. So the young nationals predominantly at 16 to 35-year-old. Yeah, and I've been a member of the Young Nats since I was 16.
Have you met any of the federal leaders of the National Party? Have you met like Barnaby Joyce or Michael McCormack?
Yeah, I'm actually glad you asked that because I think people don't actually realise how open our political system is. I've met Mark Vaile, I've met Barnaby Joyce, I've met Michael McCormack. But the National Party is actually a really open organisation. You go to federal conference, you can go and talk to these guys. And it might be the Deputy Prime Minister, but he is just a human. They're often not like they're portrayed in the media, which is something I found really interesting, that we see a framing that might not be the whole person.
Actually, that's an interesting point. You were mentioning the Deputy Prime Minister is a national and the Prime Minister is a Liberal.
Yeah.
They work together on a federal level, the Liberals and the Nationals. So are they different? Are they the same? What's the go?
No, look, they're different. I actually like the way that Barnaby Joyce talks about it. It was often talked about as the marriage between the Liberal and the National Party. He talks about it as a transactional business relationship. That while we come from a similar worldview to a degree, although I'd say the National Party is more focused on small business and farmers and manufacturing, but the National Party is there in a transactional way to say, no, we don't agree with that policy because that's going to hurt us in the regions.
So it gives the balance of the people in the city and the people in the country and brings it all together as
It
well.
does, yeah. Yep, it really does federally.
Like the slogan on the back of your car I saw says, think local, vote national.
Yeah, I quite like that one as well.
Yeah. Are there any misconceptions that you hear that you'd like to clear on about the National Party?
Yeah, well, I am the stereotype. Got an Akubra, sitting on a farm, I'm a farmer. But that's not just who the Nationals are. The National Party seeks to represent everybody in the regions. While agriculture is, we see it as very important because when agriculture prospers, the regions prosper. Most people in the regions aren't directly involved in agriculture anymore. They're in service industries, they're in manufacturing, small business, and the National Party is about all of that. So yeah, probably that's the one stereotype that I don't actually see as accurate. We're not just farmers and Akubras, although from a skin cancer point of view, highly recommend it.
I had an Akubra in my car. True, yeah.
Could have set it up for a group photo.
Yeah, we could have. No, as if we didn't think of that. What made you want to go from being a city boy to a country boy? Like, how does a 16-year-old go, yep, I want to raise cows in the country?
Well, it's actually sheep back then.
Oh, sheep, okay.
I probably fell in love with farming through sheep, but I've been here now for coming up 12 years. So.
Whoa, wait, what's the best way to cook beef as well? I want to know. Yeah.
Best way to cook beef, in my view, is simple. It's a clove of garlic, butter, in a fry pan, and baste the steak in butter.
So you just constantly baste the garlic and the butter on top?
Sometimes it's simple and keep it that way.
What's for lunch? I reckon I know what's for lunch. Hey! Really. If there's anything we've learned so far, it's that pretty much anyone at almost any age can be a part of our political system. But how do you go from that to being something like, say, the Prime Minister? We asked Cale to have a go at campaigning for the top job. Why did we ask Cale? Because he's devilishly handsome. Hope you're watching this, Cale.
Would you vote for that for Prime Minister? You voting for this guy, mate? Sorry, guys. Just vote for Cale if you've got time. That's me. That's me. Do you guys want me in it as well? And we'll all do a group shot, vote for Cale. I want to be Prime Minister. That was a firm no. To be clear, I don't want all of the responsibility and the hard stuff. I just want people to vote for me. You don't know him. It's the same guy. So how do I make that happen? If you could say down the barrel, vote for Cale for Prime Minister, that'd be great.
Yeah, vote for Cale.
Step 1, the campaign.
Well, good morning, everyone.
Election campaigns really begin when the Prime Minister calls an election.
To call an election.
The Aussie government goes into caretaker mode, which means no major decisions are made, while politicians and party leaders around the country start telling you why you should vote for them.
Hello, how you going?
You like playing soccer?
No, I'm in charge.
Happy Mother's Day, Jen.
A political campaign is about ideas.
That's Caroline Fisher. She's a professor of journalism and knows heaps about political campaigns.
So traditionally, you'd start off positive. You have to present your image. Why would you vote for me?
Positive plans for Australia's future.
Future of the country. Future of our economy.
And then towards the end, as you get closer and closer to polling day, the negative campaigning would come out.
Scott Morrison's got no one behind him.
I would have thought this deep into the campaign, they would have had some clear plans.
Malcolm Turnbull is seriously out of touch.
You've probably seen a lot of these negative ads, and it's because, they work.
It's a lemon. Kevin O'Lemon.
Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely works. But I think that's the biggest problem with it.
I feel like they should instead use those ads to talk about what they can do instead of what the other people can't do.
They're annoying, like it's a bit of a cheap shot.
They don't tend to change people's votes, but they will possibly encourage people to stick with what they know, and to not take a risk.
Part 2. Be yourself. Sometimes.
All right, look, honestly, based on the mo, I'd probably vote for you, but no.
That's a win.
We'll take that.
If you're running for a larger party like Liberal or Labor, well, you have to represent the party. You have to be presentable and trustworthy, and you have to spruik all of the things that your party stands for.
If you're running as an independent, which is my plan, well, you can show a little bit more personality.
Look, there are a lot of strong personalities, whether they're independents or they're representatives of minor parties.
There's an election on in Flinders,
And I turned 67 yesterday.
and I know who I will back.
So yesterday was not my birthday, so you are wrong.
What is it about you? Why are you different to the big parties?
I know,
That's right as being an adult.
and I hope you know it's true.
Why should they vote for you rather than a representative of one of the mainstream parties?
What do you look for in a leader?
Someone who is honest, direct, someone that listens to everybody's opinions.
Pretty much what my parents vote for.
Somebody who genuinely does care for your interests, not just all image. I think they've got a bit more substance to them than that.
Well, that's a pity because I am focused purely on image.
Why should I vote for you? Just the fact that you're kind of successful with a job, 25 and a bit sporty, it's kind of not going to cut it. Politics is a contest of ideas. So what are your ideas? So you have to really sit down and think about that.
One of my policies. Anyway.
Step 3. Get a slogan.
Clean, affordable future together. Is that something you're voting for?
Because I know you're not in politics, I'm going to say no.
A good political campaign needs a real good slogan.
Labor, a fair go for Australia.
Authorised by Anne Carroll, Australian Labor Party, Canberra.
The 3-word slogan or 4-word slogan should really be the kernel of your values, the kernel of your offering.
Can we ensure a strong economy for a stronger future?
Clean being the environment, heard of it. Affordable being money, so make everything affordable in the world. And future, just, the future in general. They're my main 3.
Everyone would vote for a cleaner future.
The wind turbines in the background, they're definitely working for me. Sounds good to me.
Yes, I think so.
And there you have it. I am Prime Minister now, so thank you for that.
Part 4. Know your stuff.
National unemployment rate at the moment is, I think it's 5.4. Sorry, I'm not sure what it is.
They have to know what they're talking about. They have to be able to answer the question.
What's the current WPI?
Google it, mate.
Can you tell me the price of a loaf of bread, a litre of petrol, and a rapid antigen test?
I'll leave those sort of things to you, mate.
If you don't know the details of your policies, the price of milk at the supermarket, or what you're going to do when you're in power, your trust can go down.
The economy, you didn't answer the question. You know what, John?
You can have good ideas, but you've got to have a strong candidate who can really deliver.
Part 5. Dress nice and say g'day.
Guys, they don't want to vote for me.
Perhaps the biggest part of an election campaign is getting out into the public.
Subconsciously, my face is in all of these people's heads now.
Showing your face and convincing people to vote for you.
I think I got a few votes there.
The golden rule always is to be respectful. It doesn't matter who this person is who's heckling you. You're asking for their vote.
Hello. Hey guys, sorry to be annoying. Oh, my papers are going everywhere. Give me 1 second to pick up those papers. Yeah, you can be on TV if you want.
Don't wear anything that is going to distract from your message. Don't wear anything strange.
I feel like fashion has like a very unconscious effect on people at times. I said to him before you came over, the outfit was sick.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Every time you step out of the house and you walk down that street, you do a media. It's a job interview.
If you just look me up and down and go, yeah, that's a trustworthy guy.
You've got some drip, so we'll allow it.
Got some drip, you'll allow it. There we go. You heard it here first. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Now, we've already met some people with some pretty strong political views, but not all of them can vote at this election. So, is it time to lower the voting age? Well, we spoke to some young people who don't quite get a vote yet to see if they think they're ready. Let's see what they say.
I think the voting age should be lowered but voluntary. I think that anyone from the age of 16 or up should have the right to vote if they wish to do so.
I guess that's the age when 16 is when you can start to do a lot of things, like you can drive and stuff and you get a lot more responsibilities.
I think 16-year-olds need to be prepared and educated about the different political groups because, like me included, I don't really know what's going on in the world of politics because it seems like a very intimidating world. So I'm sort of shying away from it.
A lot of 16-year-olds don't have that maturity or know that much about politics, and I also believe that the parents should be involved a bit more in showing those younger people how to vote.
I think that I could possibly be ready to vote, but I think I'm definitely influenced by my family's decisions, and I think that a lot of people around my age and older would definitely need to have more research done, maybe in school or other activities, but they would definitely need more information about like different parties and what each person stands for. I think the biggest issues for this federal election will be climate change and COVID policies, because those are the things that are important to people currently, because they're the biggest issues in the world.
I'm 15, and so I'll turn 16 in November.
Do you feel ready to vote?
Yes, I would like the opportunity to vote over climate change, and my views on climate change I feel like should be heard.
Alrighty, Nat. Last but not least, we are off to see the Greens.
Okay.
Specifically, we're going to go see Laz and Caitlin from the Greens. Now, one of them has an excessive Star Wars Lego collection, and the other likes to host tea ceremonies.
Well, what are tea ceremonies?
I've got no idea.
Hello, hello. Hello, nice to meet you. I'm Nat.
Hello. Great to meet you both. First things first, what made you want to become a young Green?
Well, the young part wasn't so much a choice, but the green part, pretty integral.
Are you terrified of becoming in the old Green?
Oh, we've got a few years to go, it's fine.
But really that young aspect gives us some hope, you know, getting involved now, we're seeing a lot of change, we're seeing so many other young people really join our movement with us.
Yeah, I'd say that is very much part of the big thing of it, where I think a lot of young Greens are very doomer about the whole climate and economic situation at the moment, but through being in the Young Greens, they've also chosen to have some sort of level of hope along with crippling depression. So it's a good balance.
Hope and crippling depression. Good balance. Necessary.
Being proactive. Exactly. Yeah.
In a nutshell, give us an elevator pitch of what the Greens Party in general is all about.
Okay, I'll elevator it up. Definitely around the 4 pillars and finding a place to express how you feel around this sort of view of progressive politics.
So those 4 pillars are ecological sustainability, so environment, social justice, peace and non-violence, and grassroots democracy.
How well rehearsed.
I used to always forget them, so.
What's the age range of the Young Greens?
I love that you've asked that because it just changed.
Yes, we've just lowered it to 14 to 30 because there are a bunch of high schoolers who are really, really active and have done a whole ton of activism stuff who really want to actually be a formal member of the party so they could get voting rights, because we're a very democratic group.
And we think they should have voting rights.
They should.
What would you say are some of the misconceptions or stereotypes about the Greens Party?
I wouldn't say it's a stereotype because I do drink oat milk. So
me too.
Me too. I love oat milk.
More environmentally friendly than almond milk.
Oh my god, nut milks are so bad. You're right. Is that a Green stereotype that we care about that?
How do you milk an oat?
It is a Green stereotype.
It is.
We do care about the environment.
We do.
Yeah, any others that come to mind?
What are Green stereotypes? I just am one, I know that.
What are your stereotypes of us?
Well, we don't have any stereotypes, but
not to get political, we have no stereotypes.
Not to get political, but the oat milk thing.
Well, thank you both so much for talking to us. Laz, fantastic to meet you. Caitlin, nice to meet you.
I think something's gone horribly wrong.
Okay.
Look,
well, good to meet you.
Nice to meet you. It's time for an oat latte.
Yes, let's go.
And we've done it. It's been a real journey. We've spoken to young people from all sides of politics, only to discover that everyone loves oat milk. I don't think that's what we've found. I think what we've found is that we all deserve to have our voices heard, no matter how old we are or what we believe in.
That's beautiful, Joe. But more importantly, what did we learn about ourselves?
That you take a lot of unnecessary Polaroids?
Hey. Thanks for joining us for Nat and Joe's election road trip.
Road trip! Woo!